Hey, folks, I just want to give a really quick presentation of rhetorical analysis, just if you need a visual or a talk through. So let's go through just a few points. If this helps, this helps. So, again, right, what is rhetoric? What is rhetorical? It's just the art of persuasion, right? And rhetorical analysis is you're focusing on how someone is persuading you, not necessarily, the content or the what. You're focusing on how are they persuading you. So let's take a look at a few things. And I use the Macklemore video as an example, right? That's my example. Your job for this little paper is to find your own hip hop source that you want to rhetorically analyze. So you could do, Cardi B's Instagram post about the coronavirus. You could do anything, right? Any source that's related to hip hop, please do, right? Something that's interesting to you. So using the Macklemore example, right? What is the purpose? Why is he doing this? Who is the audience? So I'm just going to start with a few of these things. So Macklemore's audience, you have to look at where he posted this thing. He went and did a radio interview with Power 106 FM. Okay, so you got to look that up, right? So the audience is 60% Hispanic on that radio station. It plays mostly crossover music, but due to the hip hop wars, as it's been called, it's also mostly hip hop and R&B. So the audience is younger people, young Hispanics. So that's the audience he's talking to, right? Why is he talking to them? Um, he got right. Think of the situation. He got a lot of flack for. He was starting to get criticism for speaking over LGBTQ two plus um, artists. Right? Why not let them speak for themselves? Why right speak over them with your song? So he's responding to that situation, and so that's the situation. That's the purpose and why. So he goes on this radio station to sort of make a defense of himself, a mea culpa, right? He's trying to defend why he wrote this song and to get support. So let's look at some of the specific strategies he also uses to do this. So this just breaks it down. It's called soapstone. If this helps, you can think of it in this way, right? The speaker, that's Macklemore. He's being interviewed. Again, the occasion is he's receiving some flack on making the song that talks over LGBTQ folks who've been talking about this issue of homophobia for years. Again, the audience is young listeners of a radio station, and again, his purpose, right? What's the reason for the interview? I think he's trying to defend himself, right, against this criticism. That's my reading of this. That's my rhetorical understanding of this. The subject, right? It's about homophobia and hip hop. His tone, right? He takes kind of a serious tone, right? He doesn't really crack any jokes. He's not cracking wise. He's sort of presenting himself as this, serious defender, right, of diversity. So this is all part of right the rhetorical situation. This is how and why he's making this argument. Um, right, I'll just skip to the appeals. So, and you don't have to hit all of these points, but include some of these concepts in your little paper. So pathos, right? He's definitely using pathos. What is this? This is emotion. This is appealing to people's emotions. So what does he do to do this? He shows images of his gay uncles on the cover art of Same Love. He brings in a gay speaker who sort of gives a vote of confidence for Macklemore, right? He speaks up for Macklemore. So, right, that speaker is he starts choking up and crying. Okay. So that's really, he's grabbing the emotions of his audience by bringing this sort of emotional speaker on, right? All to defend him, right, as this, defender of diversity is how he's sort of presenting himself. So I think those are the emotional appeals Macklemore uses. Ethos, remember, this is authority, this is credibility, right? Think of like a credibility gap, right? When someone loses credibility. So how does Macklemore establish credibility? He talks about the fact that he has not one, but several gay uncles in his family. So he uses that to sort of establish that this is something that's been significant in his life, and he can talk about it, right? And he can make a song about it, and he can make a video about it. So that's one type of credibility, right? He talks about his background. There's a lot of things that he does that establishes that he has the credibility to talk about diversity. Logos, right? What's his logic, right? Logos is our word for logic. What's his evidence? What's his reasons? What's his logic? And Macklemore's sort of famous quote in this interview is, no one was uh, talking about homophobia in hip hop, right? And sort of until I came along, and I'm like, okay, really, really. So that's his logic, right? And I would quote that. I would say, okay, he says that it's not being talked about enough. And, that's not entirely true. There were many artists from Missy Elliott to Queen Latifah that were talking about the treatment of LGBTQ people in hip hop and on our national stage. So, his logos is a little flawed, but that's one of the things he, says as his logical argument. So, right, we've got the ethos, the logos, the pathos. Focus on one, two, or all three of those if you want. But again, be specific, be narrow. So you may only have time for one of these concepts. So one, two, or three of the appeals, feel free to talk about, and right, just go through these. Right, hit all or most of these in your paper, and you should be really good. And again, you're looking at how they're making their argument, right? By using these appeals. That's how Macklemore is making his argument. Is he's appealing to emotions. He's appealing to calls for credibility, right? That he's credible on the subject of diversity, and he's making his argument through appealing to logic or pseudo logic, whatever you want to call it. Okay, folks. Hope that helps. If you have any questions, always available by email or office hours. Yeah, cheers. Bye.